Hello, everyone. This is a new podcast by MOER, which stands for Making Our Economy Right. MOER is a tiny organization founded in 1991 in Bangladesh after the fall of the Soviet Communist Empire. Communism, however, still exists in various forms, and this is why MOER continues to promote the liberalization of the economy, also known as the free market enterprise. Economies, unlike politics, do not thrive under bureaucratic restrictions or political boundaries. The economy is one. It is interconnected and we are all interdependent. Economies cannot survive in isolation unless in a totalitarian aura. To meet our unending demands and for our growth and prosperity, we need maximum economic freedom for the people of Bangladesh and the world. Thank you and hope you will find or at least listen to our podcast at your convenience. Hoping you like this one too. Bye now. Right, Neo. Thank you. Thank you. Nice seeing you here. It's wonderful to see you after a long time. You stay very, very busy. So, how are you doing?
I'm very good. Thank you very much, Nizam, for having me here. I feel
Our pleasure.
privileged, I feel proud, I feel humbled.
My pleasure.
And you're an old friend, so I felt good that you wanted me to be here to speak with you.
Wonderful. It's just not about friendship, but I also want you here to speak how you started your business and you're very successful, touch wood. And I can clearly and proudly say you're not a crony capitalist. You're a genuine self-made person with a lot of support from your family, your parents. I've seen your father, how he used to be supportive of you. And that's one reason, if you could tell your story about our, new young entrepreneurs and, your experience, maybe if you can tell how you started, what made you come to business and not some job or go overseas or get a PhD and whatnot.
Well, if I have to start somewhere, I have to say that, I was a musician. I played drums for the first band in the
You're a
country.
lovely musician and a drummer.
I was a drummer. I was trained in piano, accordion, and keyboards, but I played drums when our drummer left the band, and so I was
Replacement.
kind of like sitting drums. And there was some entrepreneurship there because as a band we had to negotiate with the customers who we played for.
Right.
So therefore, there were other bands also. In the city there in Chittagong.
Right.
They were not rock bands like ours. They were dance bands. But at least when it came to playing, for a dance, we had to be able to know how to negotiate. And so I think business really started from there.
Okay.
In 1972, with the independence of Bangladesh,
Yes.
of course at that time, all the companies that were in Chittagong, they left because licenses were not given to Bangladeshis.
Right.
All the Pakistanis who operated
they sort of
most of the businesses in
Yeah.
Chittagong. And so in 72, we had an opportunity.
Right.
And of course, the first thing that young people do, and I had completed my education at Notre Dame College. So I worked for a year as a teacher at the St. Scholastica's Convent in Chittagong, and then a year as a journalist, and then I decided this is not my calling.
Right.
So then my father, we went to my dad and we said we'd like to do some business, and he said, what kind of business would you like to do? And so we said, well, we'd like to do your business, which was shipping. In those days, Chittagong was a major shipping port. And so, he worked for a very large company that handled several shipping lines. Those days, shipping lines used to call from Chittagong to Europe and USA directly. As opposed to now, where we have feeder vessels calling to Singapore and then mother vessels carrying containers all the way to Europe, US, etc. So in those days, there was no container vessels. There was, what we call break bulk vessels. So my father was, he was the general manager of a large shipping company. And so we thought that we could be, shipping businessmen.
Yeah.
However, at that time there were no ships calling to the newly independent Bangladesh, except these relief ships with grains and CI sheets and things like that, from the UN and the FAO and etc. And so my dad said that, well, you can be if you'd like to, but who's going to appoint you as an agent? You have no knowledge, you have no experience, and ships are not calling Bangladesh anyway. So what to do? He said, well, if you want to learn the shipping business, you have to first learn the clearing and forwarding business.
Right.
And the shipping license is only issued on a clearing and forwarding license. So we then took out, my dad funded us, and we took out a clearing and forwarding license. And as luck would have had it, all these large vessels calling in Chittagong with relief goods at the time, they were, the receivers here were mainly the UN, World Food Program, big NGOs like Caritas, etc. And because they spoke only in English, and we were also conversant in English, so they found us to be, the right fit. We were able to communicate with them, and because shipping is such a coordinated industry, right from where the goods are loaded in the warehouse,
documents and all that.
Goods loaded at the warehouse at origin, and then delivered at warehouse here. You're right. The documentation is very complex and it's very detailed. So you can't have mistakes in that, because the smallest mistakes would have the consignment rejected by the customs, and you'd have to go for amendment, and time consuming. If and when that happens, the demurrage on the ship is very, very high. You see. So. So we learned the clearing and forwarding business, but at the same time, we became, we were the only game in town, if you may. Clearing and forwarding, that knew how to communicate in English with the customers as well as handling ships. My dad helped us with the knowledge of handling ships, but we could communicate, and so I relocated with Dhaka, if you remember.
Yeah, I think that was sometime in 73?
73, that's right. And so, we started the business here because this was where all the customers were, the UN, the World Bank, the NGOs, etc.
Neo, I saw you with one desk, starting with one desk in Magbazar, right? Isn't it?
That's right.
You said Nizam or Qayyum takes the credit now. No, it was me. I said, no, it was me.
No, I came to you and I said,
well, I need some space.
I want to start, I want to kind of sit somewhere, so give me a desk. And, and because I knew you and also Qayyum at that time, we were sharing an office. So
I'm not shaking or Qayyum should have been arguing about it. But he said, no, it was me. I said, okay, then I stopped arguing. I said, okay, it's you. It's such a scene. I remember that very much. You put the Doha Bushto.
That's right.
So you came and you fitted your desk in there. I said, wow. And from there, look at your journey. Fantastic.
That's right.
You're mobile now. And then I think there's another break you got. One, of course, the way you started as your dad. I saw how very close he was with you, be so supportive, which I also try to be very supportive of my children. They want to build business. I realized that, you just can't let them alone. You don't have to be close, but you be around, be supportive. So he was a big thing for you. And another thing I think you got a break with when the Sri Lankan war started and the garments industry came to Bangladesh, and you were at the right time, with the right knowledge and the right contacts. You had these German agents and whatnot. So again, there your English really helped.
Very right.
So you boomed. You boomed. And then you have really glorified this business of clearing and forwarding. I mean, Age didn't have any kind of, didn't look very fancy for business, Maybe stable, but, business. I think you made it. You made it, wow, this is a booming business. You can make a lot of money.
I have to say three things about this, One is that perhaps I'd be remiss in not saying this, that I have to thank you and Karim very much, as well as
friends. We are friends.
yeah, and you very kindly offered me a desk, and I hired one person, and so while I used to go out marketing, he used to sit in the desk, receive calls.
So I was downstairs. I didn't notice that.
Right, yeah.
Notice that.
Yeah, that's right. So, but before that, something happened which also was a significant event in our lives as musicians.
Yeah.
In 1972, we thought that we are musicians. What can we do for the country?
Right.
Because during 71, what we were doing is there were people, the Hindu people, who were escaping to India, the very poor, helpless, And so, our house was vacant because my father had gone off to Kolkata because the army was looking for him. And my mother and our siblings went off to Borishal in our village.
Okay.
And so we were in that house alone, the two of us, me and my brother. And so these Hindu people would come from the villages and they would stay at our house overnight. And in the morning, we would arrange bus transport to Shivapur. And from there, they would go to Kolkata. And they used to leave all their gold and assets with us, And so when they returned after liberation, they got back everything from us. So I think that their prayers and blessings also went a long way with that. And at that time, we thought that, what should we do? I mean, it's a liberated country. We did what we had to as freedom fighters, if you may, And so, our band agreed that we were going to do something towards the Prime Minister's Relief Fund, And so, so the four of us in the band, there was me, Noel, Farid and Shakil. And we had Shakil's brother Saqib was the manager, and there was Bobby Khan and Rafi Ali. These two were friends,
That's it. Bobby Khan
is Khan's son, and his brother-in-law was M.R. Siddiqui, who was our first commerce minister in the Mujib cabinet.
Yeah.
So we went and on 18th of February 1972, saying that we'd like to do concerts in India where we could collect funds to hand over to your Prime Minister's Relief Fund.
But the press media never covered this.
No, in those days the media wasn't so active. There were hardly any newspapers, and even if they were, they were also kind of, coming out from their shambles, trying to reorganize.
Yeah.
So we actually did 2 concerts in Chittagong, and we did 1 concert in Dhaka at the Purvani Hotel. Many people remember that because there was an explosion in that concert. And then we went to India. But before that, I mean, what's interesting is we went in that, and he gave us a letter. He gave us a letter saying that he was encouraging us to visit India and to play concerts for the Prime Minister's Relief Fund.
Wow.
And so we took that letter, and it was a memorable event. I still have his letter, with me, the original letter that he had signed for us. I have a copy of that, yeah.
Wow.
In fact, I'd be happy to give it to the Bangladesh Museum.
Yes, why not?
Yeah, a letter from him, 18th February 1972, in his own handwriting, that was very actually, yeah.
Give it to the museum.
So we went to Kolkata and we played 1 concert, and then our manager got injured, but the proceeds was about 80,000 rupees in those days.
It is a big thing.
About 1 crore now.
It's a big thing, yeah.
Yeah, and we handed that over to the High Commission in Kolkata. So I remember that as a significant event also, which went towards supporting our business career.
Right.
So coming back to the third thing is the business career itself.
But you went to Kolkata, sorry for the interruption, as lightning, yeah?
As lightning. It was officially, we called it the Bangladesh concert in order to give it kind of official use, if you may,
Yeah.
But then the bands were us. We played 4 concerts in Bangladesh, and in Kolkata we played with one band called the Great Bear, and there was another Bangladeshi band that played in the second. They were called the Ugly Faces. So so we did that tour of Kolkata with the plan to do a concert in Chennai, in Delhi, and in Mumbai. Okay. But Bobby was injured, so we had to rush back here. Yeah. Injuries and like.
So one concert and you made 80,000.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Kalamudir is a big auditorium, So of course I have to again thank my dad very much because in those days, he bought us all our instruments, the best. Fender guitar, Hofner guitars, Fender amps, Ludwig drums, you name it. So we were very lucky because we had the best musical instruments and sound equipment in those days. Thanks to my father who, donated 100%, for all these. So, coming back to Dhaka, the start of the business, Kayyum and all that, my old pals.
Yeah, we went to, remember we went to Chittagong with Kayyum and Taisin, myself. We went to the Chittagong club and there we met your brother, Noel.
Yeah.
And he said, come over to your place, you were practicing and all that. So that's how it all started,
And then, of course, you saying about how the clearing and forwarding business was not such a respectable business.
No, it wasn't.
But by the time we came into the business, it was no longer clearing and forwarding only. Because I remember we did one contract for USAID.
Right.
They had, under the health scheme, they had a program to distribute, medical items throughout the country. So our contract was to custom clear the goods at Chittagong port, transport them to Dhaka, warehouse them in Chittagong and in Dhaka, and then distribute from here to all the districts all over Bangladesh.
I see.
So that's, so...
A lot of logistics.
So if you want to use the word logistics, then this is where the first logistics happened in the country.
I mean, this is beyond
just clearing and
implementation of clearing and forwarding bits,
And then fortunately for us, 85 was when the garment industry had just started, you see. And so, in those days, these open trucks used to carry garments from Dhaka to Chittagong.
A lot of pilferage.
Yeah, and I remember the big players, the Desh garments in Chittagong, the Bond garments, and there was, Aristocrat.
Riaz. Was it
Riaz was big. Mr. Riaz was actually the first man.
Yes.
So so goods used to be transported by truck from Dhaka to Chittagong. These were open trucks, and we were receiving reports from the importers, Kmart, etc. That the clothes, the fabric was developing, black dots when they arrived at destination. And so, investigating that, it was found that the paper cartons, the cardboard cartons that went on the truck, was actually absorbing from the atmosphere, you see. And so, when you took the cartons in an open truck from Dhaka to Chittagong, and then you stuff it into a container, the water content well along, whatever evaporated content well along, and in the 50 to 60 days from Chittagong to US, the water that was absorbed by the carbon in the cartons went into the clothes, and that was what was causing this water. So it was told to us that you have to start trucks. You have to have trucks which must be covered. And so we started the first covered trucks in the country, and we built it to 26 trucks.
That was in 80s.
That was in late 75, early 80s. Yes. So we ran the business. We ran the trucking business for about 15 years. Before we gave it up, because by then the competition...
That was quite big, 15 trucks.
26 trucks.
26 trucks, that's huge.
It was very big, yes.
Yeah, it's huge.
But, fortunately it didn't cost that much, and we were able to find contractors to build bodies. But we were the first ones to do it, you see. So, from merely being clearing and forwarding agents, in order to being the full logistics systems, brought in that. Plus, we set up the first container freight station in Chittagong.
Wow.
Private. The first, it was called Trans Container, and so we used to stuff containers, in our, container freight station, and it would go by vans from Dhaka, by our covered trucks. We used to go to our container freight station. We used to stuff into container at the EPZ in Chittagong in our CFS, and then we would bring the container to the ship. So it was kind of, the whole supply chain was covered by us, which is why I think we were so successful.
Yeah,
nobody else doing it.
You did a fantastic job. I mean, all the details.
Yes.
everything.
Yeah.
You just,
All the parts in the
you
supply
had to
chain.
do what to do. You did what to do, whatever you had to do. It's
And
fantastic.
so we also brought in the first prime movers and trailers to move containers, and we had the largest fleet of prime movers and trailers, you see. So the income coming from several sources,
Right.
clearing and forwarding, trucking.
It's a huge industry.
Yeah, so about 8 or 10
And we are
sources.
import dependent, so you are here to stay.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, but now it's become somewhat, how should I say, more elaborate and much more sophisticated because
Yeah.
from then on we were, because our volumes were so high already, we were appointed general sales agent for one of the largest shipping lines in the world, Orient Overseas Container Line.
Okay.
So, so we were doing more than 2,000 containers a month.
OCCL?
WCL.
WCL.
They're Hong Kong based, but they were among the top 5 container lines at the time. And so seeing that,
Yeah.
Dragon Air,
Yes.
which wanted to start flights from Hong Kong to Dhaka,
Yeah.
looking at our performance and our experience and knowledge,
Right.
it was easy for us to be, appointed as general agents and ground handling agents at the airport
Wow.
for Dragon Air aircrafts. And when it ended, we were handling 5 wide-bodied Airbus A330 aircrafts, which had 200 passengers
Yeah.
and 35 tons of cargo. So, although we were a cargo-oriented company,
Yeah.
but we also went into the passenger
Passenger,
business,
yeah.
And so then, we were also general agents for another cargo
Yeah.
airline called Air Hong Kong. And subsequent to that, we ran our own airline called Omni Airlines,
Really?
We chartered aircraft once a
Cargo.
week. Cargo. Once a week, Dhaka, Hong Kong, Dhaka.
Wow. I think I went with you once to Dhaka Airport. It was an aircraft.
You may have.
The cargo aircraft. Yeah.
You may have. You may have.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's right.
Fantastic. But all this, your thing you have been doing is, you didn't belong to any party or some big guy in politics didn't help you or boost you. I have never, in my perception, I don't see that. It's just been you and your good work, and there was a demand for such service, and so there you are.
Well, I have to say that we were raised in a very fortunate era where entrepreneurs were actually given the freedom, to be able to do what was required for the development of the country.
I see.
So there were never any barriers,
Okay.
for us to do any businesses. But then perhaps it was new business, nobody knew what this was all
What's
about.
happening, yeah.
By the time they caught out, I suppose that's when the politics or the political influence on business may have entered.
So
But-
now you have to bargain differently. They'll say, hey, what is there for me? Only then you get to do this, something like that.
Well, our businesses are such that we really don't have to encounter that, because a lot of people still depend on the merit and our knowledge and our expertise on doing what we're doing. So there's, on many occasions there's not a second player, who can do this. So therefore,
Wow.
we're really very fortunate. For instance, music has been my passion,
Right.
Today, Omni Music is probably the largest distributor of musical instruments and also audio-visual equipment. Some of the better brand names in musical instruments like Fender guitar. Who doesn't know about Fender?
Yes.
So we're distributors for Fender. Kawai pianos,
Right.
Perhaps one of the top pianos in the world, and keyboards. For audio-visual, we're exclusive distributors for Shure microphones,
Right.
And
And let me stop you here, and I should have said it before. The first, thank you very much for all the equipments you've given us for this podcast. Thank you.
well, I realize you have a passion, and so therefore, I think I can never repay you for what you've done to me.
Oh, come on, yeah.
So, so
This, whatever we are going to do, we're going to do it for the collective good.
yeah, but at that time in Dhaka, if you, Qayyum, and other
That's
friends
nothing.
didn't
You would
give
have
me a
found
break,
someone else. You would have found someone else. It's nothing. It's no big
Yeah, but it's something that I don't think
It's no
I
big
can
deal.
ever consider to repay back because you were friends at the time.
But you know what? There we met in Chittagong, then you were in Dhaka. You see this linkage. How it goes.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So, I think there's always, whether you want it or not, but when a quid pro quo appears, then you jump at it, which is why I thought that.
No, that's very kind of you. And as I said, we were talking, on the phone, and I said, "Hi, I believe in invisible forces, and I'm thinking of, building up a studio here, podcast." And he said, "Hey, I'm going to give you what you need.
Well, I had
Come
it.
over."
I had it open, so I could easily offer it to you.
So the timing was so nice. I said, "Hey, there must be some invisible forces going on here."
Absolutely. I believe it.
So you know what, Neo? We want to set this up, and I hope it goes on well. And you're our first guest to honor your donation, appropriate donations, and plus that you're in business, and and the economy in Bangladesh apparently is booming. But I do understand there's a lot of corruption and there's a lot of lawlessness. But then those are again different issues. But business prospect-wise, I think it's huge. So there you are. You're one of the leaders of this, in the business community, in the business world, and you should be an inspiration for the rest of us, and also for me, as I do believe in definite liberalization of the economy and the least possible role of the government in our midst, in order to give us more economic freedom to pursue our enterprise. So I think we are mostly done now. We said we'll do it in 29 minutes. My battery stays, active for 29 minutes. So we're going to shorten it. You want to say anything else? And we'll do it again.
No, I think that, in our lives, I am seeing a certain juncture, I think the independence of Bangladesh was one such, and I can now see that we're going, this is a juncture which offers, how should I say, a new horizon.
Absolutely.
And those of us who are clever, I think, especially I'm talking about younger people, because I'm not saying that my time is done. I'm saying that we are here with our own knowledge and experience, and if there's something we can do to contribute that in order to make the future of Bangladesh a brighter place for our people, our young people, for, so this country can be the shining star that it was.
Yeah, I have got tremendous faith in us Bengalis. They don't have to be, coming from a very rich background or educational, but they have this enterprise in them. Somehow, maybe, they're going all over the world and they're taking so much of, risks to get a job or to start a business. It's fantastic to watch them. And I think they deserve a better business environment. And the government should stop thinking that they can do everything they want to do and build this country. That doesn't work. It hasn't worked anywhere in the world. I think we should follow the Chinese model, liberalize. The government takes the back seat and let the people generate the economy.
Yeah, but you're a student of economics. You know that the government really is there to make things possible for us. So I think that we're the principal element in this road to development. So I don't believe we should shy and then transfer all the responsibilities to the government. I think that we, in our own ways, we should be demonstrating what we can do, how we can do. Yes. Some people may say the government is not paying attention to me.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not paying attention to you now, but they will. So
no, we don't need the government. No, you don't need the government. You yourself can self-govern.
No doubt. I'm saying not to make them the single responsible party in development.
Absolutely. I'm not a student of economics. Actually, I was in business like you.
I see.
But I had a lot of obstacles. And going desk to desk to do something, to get something, not for me. I said, hey, we got to first change the system. So I'm still struggling on it.
Well, if you want to recruit me for something, please feel free. And you said for some conclusion words, I have to thank the audience for giving their time.
I hope we get some more.
And I will thank you. You're my very old and dear friend, trusted friend.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes life happy, business successful, is when you can depend, rely on friends that are trusted, that you can depend on, that you can, share your intimate feelings, and not have them laugh at you for
Even if they laugh at us, it doesn't matter. Who cares? We do keep on doing what we have, we want to be doing.
Yes, sir.
So Neil, thank you very much for coming over, and I have a few more guests in my mind. So once this thing warms up, you'll have a lot of ideas to talk and all these things. I'll have a lot of things to ask you.
Thank you.
So we'll get back again. We'll get to it again.
Thank you very much.
And it's just 29 minutes, won't be much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Neil. A shake.